All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 16th episode of Happy Hour with CarnaticON. Today, we are meeting Girijashankar. Hello.
Hello. Namaste.
Hi. So, actually, guys, those of you who haven't seen him before, Girijashankar is an accomplished Carnatic vocalist. He's been practicing and performing for the last 20 years. He's a disciple of Chitravina Shri N. Narasimhan and Chitravina Shri N. Ravikiran. Now, his singing is marked by his guru's stamp of flawless pitch alignment, control over rhythm, attention to lyrics, and an overall very absorbing presentation. Now, of course, he's performed like all over the world, in the Cleveland, in Chennai, in Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad. I could just continue listing that, but I am going to stop talking and let you guys hear it from himself. So, Girijashankar, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, I think you've covered pretty much everything. There's not much to say. So I'm basically from Chennai, grown up in Chennai, and Chennai has been very much part of all the music that I sing and all the music that I know. Um, I started learning at the age of 5
Mhm.
from different teachers. I've also learned a bit of Hindustani music,
Nice.
and my most recent gurus are, like you said, Chitravina Narasimhan sir and Ravikiran sir. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey so far.
Nice, nice. And you have obviously performed at like a lot of places, you're teaching, you're doing a whole wide variety of things. What would be like one thing that you would say is your favorite thing to do among all of these things? Besides, of course, singing, that's not counted because I'm assuming that is your most favorite thing to do.
So you're asking, apart from music, what is my favorite thing to
No,
do?
as in like you teach, you perform, and obviously you sing as well. But what do you enjoy the most among all these things?
Um, I do like singing at home.
Hmm.
That because I have no inhibitions, and it's absolutely, nobody's there to sing. It's just singing for myself, and of course I enjoy my practice sessions. Um, Out of all of those, I think something which would go beyond that would be my time with my gurus,
Hmm.
especially Narasimhan Mama, because I was very young at the time that I joined him, and every class, the classes were not bound by time at all. Some of the classes even would go up to 4 hours or 5 hours. Sometimes he would call in the morning and also in the evening. So after school, then I would rush back to his place in Palavakkam, taking a share auto, if you know what that is.
I do.
So I think that was the best time of my musical journey because I think it was just for the sake of learning and nothing else. And that quest and thirst for that knowledge is something that I would really, really miss because I don't have the time to do all those things now.
Yeah, I'm sure. What started you off like initially when you decided? I mean, at 5, like your parents must have decided to put you in music, but then what or when was this moment where you felt like, okay, this is it, I'm going to make this a career, this is my passion? Like, was there a defining moment?
Yeah, that was a very recent time actually because I worked in corporate for about 5 years
Hmm.
in two different companies, and then there was a wake up call saying that this is not something that I want to do. So I just called my wife and told her that I'm leaving my job and then I'm going to be doing this. She was extremely supportive because this happened after we got married,
Hmm.
2016, and ever since I I never had an ounce of doubt at that point in time that whether I'm doing the right thing or not. I think that was a very defining moment. Though it was
Yeah.
good work and all of that, but that is not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But before that, I was not very sure, which is why I even went ahead and joined the companies. And but
Hmm.
after 5 years of doing that, I realized that this is not my cup of tea. So
Yeah, no, it takes a lot to actually say no and decide to follow your passion, right? It's a scary journey, it's uncertain. So really kudos to you and kudos to your wife. Because honestly, if my husband were to tell me today that he's gonna stop working, I'm like, no, I don't know about that. So that's really cool that, she's a very supportive person in your life. That's, I think, very important. That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about kind of like, your initial performances, like how did you take off and manage, both studies as well as your work later on and still perform you because you've performed quite a lot of places. You've won a lot of awards. So how was that kind of phase of your life when you were juggling a bunch of things?
I think my best environment was at home because both my parents gave me complete freedom to do what I wanted to do, which
Hmm.
in many cases is not true.
Hmm.
My mother always wanted me to be in music, and
Nice.
she dreamt that I would be a musician, I would be this performer, and all of that because that was her dream.
Hmm.
Uh, um, when I was, I think, around 3 years old, my grandmother was carrying me to a marketplace, and she hummed a bhajan, and I repeated the tune without um, the words being in the proper place because I was just three. I just started to speak.
Oh,
So I think that was the defining moment that they knew that I was very musical, and ever since my mother's only focus in her life was to get me under the right teachers and get the right exposure and go to all competitions and all of that. So I
yeah,
think she had already started on her dream.
yeah.
Um, when I told her that I wanted to work, she was very upset. She said, like, why do you want to do this? Not many people can sing. You are so talented. You should be doing something else and all of that. But my father was very supportive. He said, like, you have to first of all believe in yourself to be able to do something well.
Yeah.
Feel like you might not succeed in this 100%, then maybe you should have something to fall back on, which is why I started working.
Hmm.
But when I told her that I was going to quit my job the second call was to my mother saying that I'm doing this. She was ecstatic. She was so
Oh,
happy. She was literally jumping. She was actually very ill at that point in time. She passed away last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so I think um, yeah, she was super happy to know that that I'm following my dream finally and doing this. And yeah, so I'm glad that she knew what I was getting into before her time. So
Yeah, no, I'm sure
I
she's
think the environment in the house really played a big part in
yeah.
what I'm doing today. I think each and every one of them, right from my father, my grandparents, my brother, all of them are like if there is a concert, then everybody comes together to help in whatever little way they can in the house. So that's
That's
what.
nice. That's very nice and very true. Very important to have a supportive family. I think if it's that's just the backbone of every successful person, especially in a field that is not conventional in that sense, right? So that's awesome. Um, can you tell us just a little bit more about the Lotus Foundation? Because when I was reading your bio, I thought that was something that was very nice and like about your work in the autistic space. Like I would love to know a little bit more about that.
Yes, I've known Nandini auntie for a very long time.
Mhm.
I think first time we met through another friend. I really can't remember her name, but I think she was the one who put me in touch with her because she knew that I was performing at that point in time, and she had come for a few concerts of mine.
Mhm.
And then she said, "Will you be interested in working with this organization because your music is really soulful and it's not like the conventional kind of voice that you have. So I really feel like you can strike a chord with these children."
Mhm.
She put me in touch with Nandini Auntie, who runs Lotus Foundation, and I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago.
Mhm.
The first time it was in a small house in Besanagar, where these children used to come there, and there were a bunch of trainers for these children who taught them physical education. Some of them taught rhyme, some of them taught music, some
Mhm.
taught painting, and all of that. So these children don't have the usual school, right? Usually,
Yeah.
so this is how it started. And first time Nandini auntie asked me to sing, you know, at this school, which was a small house set up. I was very apprehensive because I didn't know what I could expect, because I didn't know what autism was. I didn't know what kind of people I'll be, dealing. It's a completely different
Yeah.
audience that you have, because you're not used to that usually.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to prepare for this concert, what to sing, and all of that. But then after a lot of pondering, when I came up with a list of songs that were simple and where I could also involve those children, then I said okay, and then we went ahead and this concert happened. It was such a revelation because all of those children were so musical.
Mm.
In many ways, I was able to see that, even if they didn't know what I was singing, but something about that was actually calming them, and they had mellowed down. All the noise that was there before the concert, everything had just.
Wow.
Some of the children even walked close to us to see what instruments we have, and they were so fascinated with the mridangam and the violin and all of that.
Mm.
So I think that was a great, um, what do I say, a eureka moment, if you would.
Yeah.
And after that, of course, I had a great opportunity to work with Bombay Jayashri Akka, who
Mm.
is be one of the greatest ambassadors of music in today's world, and she had a huge. Um, I won't say it's a study, but a huge movement where she had worked with these children very closely. And, through Hitam Trust, I was able to sing a few concerts at her house for those children.
Mm.
It was a very blessed moment in my life. And ever since that happened, I think Lotus Foundation has been a very regular affair with me in my musical journey, because I've sung there numerous number of times.
Nice.
Very recently in 2019 December, Nandini auntie called me and said, like, let's do something bigger this time. Let's not just pertain to Lotus Foundation. Let's call all the children who are in the autism spectrum, and we'll invite them, and we can have a musical session with them. So
Nice.
she hired spaces in Besanagar. It was a beautiful setup, and on that particular day, it had rained so much. So we were so apprehensive about how many children are going to be able to come for this, but nothing stopped them. Like, it was a house full concert. It was really, really heartwarming. I think one of
Oh,
the videos is even doing the rounds on social media, where we were singing Kurai Ondru Milai and all the children are singing together with us.
oh, that's so nice. I'm gonna go look for that video. Nice. This is so inspiring because, like, a lot of people make music, they do their own thing, but to be able to give back or do something like special like this is just, I think it's really inspiring. So that's awesome that you've done that. And I think if people want to get involved and work with the Lotus Foundation, I'm gonna just put the links down there when we post this so they can reach out.
I think they can take all the help that they can.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's always great to kind of help people. So that's awesome. That is great. That's good on you. That sounds like that concert was something else. I'm definitely gonna go look for it.
Much,
Um,
it was much more than what a normal concert would give you. Like, it was truly like, you usually, it's all about the sound. It's all about, sometimes, is everything in place? Like, there is this formal auditorium and all of that is there, but this was much more than all of that.
yeah.
Like, we were able to connect in so many levels with the children when all of them sang together, like, without even being asked to sing. That
Mm,
shows their, willingness to participate and be inclusive in
yeah.
whatever little way they can. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I can't even imagine that scenario. It's like goosebump type of moment. Um, Tell me something, like, obviously this was, I think, one of your most memorable performances. Are there others that you feel like you can't forget? Like, the crowd was amazing, the setup was amazing, because you've had such a wide variety of performances all around the world. So what's another standout performance that comes to your mind right now?
Um, I think, if I have to say, because one of my good friends, Aravind Soundarajan, who's another musician,
Hmm?
was indisposed at some point, and he requested me, Girija, can you go to Kerala and sing this concert for me in my place. I will speak to the organizers. So it was more or less filling the space. I didn't know what to expect because I've never performed in Kerala before that.
Mhm.
Um, but when I went there and the kind of response that was in that venue in Changampura Park, there were when the curtains raised, there were like 750 people in the audience.
Wow.
I've never had such a crowd even in Chennai December Music Festival or anywhere else for that matter.
Mhm.
It was absolutely it was overwhelming because I'd never sung to such a large crowd before.
Mhm.
And the audience did not just have it was a mixed audience. There were children, there were old people, there were a lot of young people, and they had so much of discipline to not leave in between the performance. They were absolutely sitting in their seats from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
Wow.
It was I've never seen something like that, and it would always stick to me. And after that, I performed there once again in 2018,
Mhm.
and it was really heartwarming to see something like this. I think this will always stick to me.
That's great. Yeah, I think some of these special performances, like, it's nice. Your first big crowd, or like a lot of firsts are like very special, I think. So that's cool. Kerala, I wonder how, I mean, this was a Carnatic music festival, right? And everybody, you said everybody was very attentive and very like, but how language wise, like, how were these people responding to it? Like, were they, how was that experience like performing for a totally different kind of
I think
language?
for for Kerala, you usually tend to choose more of Swati Tirunal or more of the Kerala composers.
Yeah.
But more than that, I think they proved well beyond to a point where music was beyond language and all of that. Because I think conversing was mostly in English because I'm not very fluent with Malayalam, though I understand to a large extent because I had colleagues who worked with me in office who were Malayalis.
I see.
But yeah, I didn't have any kind of. And they were very, very welcoming people, and I think it would. It's of course Kerala is a very culturally um, rich place, so I
Mhm.
think this was one of the best experiences that I have in my performing career so far.
Nice. That is great. Very cool. Very cool. You've also won like a whole bunch of awards. I'm curious, did you actually receive the award, the Bharatiya Memorial Prize from Miss MS Subbulakshmi?
Yes,
Oh, tell us a little bit more about that. I'm like, she's awesome. How was that?
of course she's. I think this when this happened, I didn't realize the magnitude of that situation because I was very young at that point in time. When I see the picture, I realized that I was so young in that. I was, I think, probably 9 or 10 years old,
Mhm.
and at that time, I was learning from Sita Lakshmi Mami, who was my second guru, and she suggested that there is this competition that is being organized, and she sent a bunch of her students to go participate in this. So she taught me this composition called Valli Kanavan Pere Vali Pokkan Sonalum, that poetry. I
Mhm.
don't remember, please don't ask me to sing that now.
You read my
uh,
mind. Yeah, I won't.
yeah, I learned that, and I went and sang. That's all. I didn't even think that I had to do well or whatever. I at that point in time, I didn't. That was not one of my. Um, I would never even practice. My mother used to tell me to keep practice, like do this, do that. It would just be a game, or I would just enjoy singing, so I would just go for class and learn. So it was that point in time. And then I sang, and then I heard that I got the first prize in this competition, and in that I think the event happened in Asika Samajam Venus Colony, the prize distribution,
Mhm.
and there was so much glory because MS Amma was such a coveted musician at that point, right? So um, I think at that point in time, I didn't, like I said, I didn't realize how big of a moment this would be for me. But uh, I was just playfully, I got dressed up and my mother was there and we all just went. Got the prize. And very recently, when I was just going through the photo albums, I came across this picture and I can't believe that my mother had very beautifully documented all of these moments in her album and it was all
Oh,
edited and all of that. So Raja actually found that and I got the picture and I recently shared the picture on my social media also.
nice.
Now when I think about it, I feel like, what, how blessed I would be to have, had this opportunity to actually be in the same space as her. So I,
Yeah.
I consider myself really, really lucky and blessed.
Yeah, no, that's great at that young age, kind of winning that competition and meeting her. Yeah, I understand,
Yeah.
at that age, it's hard to understand the magnitude of the situation, but that is still pretty cool. That's very, very cool. And I would probably show off for the rest of my life if I were you. So that's really very nice. You have a master's degree. I was just reading this in econometrics. What is econometrics? I have never heard of that.
It's really funny because I was so reluctant to join that course, and my father kind of said, like, you need a solid course to, study so that when you land up with a job, it's relevant to what is there in the marketplace. Actually, I wanted to study anthropology, but my father, in his most hilarious ways of expressing, he said, like, what are you going to do with fossil brushes in India? Because there are museums, or you don't have a scope for that kind of a subject.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'm thankful that he had the foresight to say that to me and guide me through. And then I went and reluctantly joined this without having no background economics or whatever. I was dreading the subject. Um, but with a bunch of good friends, I was able to come out with flying colors. And I don't know much about it at all today. When you ask me at that point, I don't know how I managed to go through the course. But it was something that really pushed me to the brink of, almost quitting the course and almost coming back because it was so difficult for me. But I'm glad that I pushed through and I was able to see that, I challenged myself that I was able to do this and I was able to do it. And after that, I did my master's in music,
Yeah.
more relevant to what I do today.
Yeah.
Glad that my guru had asked me to do that. And it was
Yeah.
under his guidance that I went and joined the university.
That's so cool. Actually, what does like a master's in music look like? So what do you learn? Like I would have loved to do that, like if I had my own way, but I did engineering like the rest of the Indian world. But how do like you're just basically singing the whole day. It must be so fun.
There is a whole lot of things because there is singing, of course. There is also a lot of theory involved in
Yeah.
terms of how our history of music has been and how it has evolved into what it is today,
Hmm.
how it was at that point in time, and all of that. So it's a whole bunch of things. I think it's some of it is very academic.
Hmm.
You wouldn't probably use all of those things in the performance sector of it, but in the whole spectrum of knowledge, I think it's truly enriching because you kind of go into this unexplored territory of what our music has been and from where it has come to where. So that whole journey of understanding what it is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
All
well,
of this, for example, when we look at our ragam system like Menakata and Janyam and all of those things,
mhm,
it's come through different stages of evolution. They were ragams were there, but it was called something else. They were called pands in the Tamil music history.
mhm,
So from that, and then I mean, Sage Narada was one of the first. I think one of the greatest saints who's known for his music skills. From there, we've come a long way, and how it has been in the era that is not right now, and how the ragams have evolved into what it is now. And now we have a very concrete structure of we're able to say that this ragam is a journey of this, and this ragam is a pentatonic scale or a septatonic scale or whatever it is. So all of these things are uh, things that have come today after a whole stage of changes over a period of long time. So if
Yeah. No, that'll be actually very interesting to explore as well. I think, I mean, I recently, I think in one of our interviews, talked to one of, I can't remember if it was Vinod, but we were talking about the evolution of Carnatic music and how it has changed over the years and how the newer artists are adapting. Like, what are your thoughts on that? How has Carnatic music actually evolved, and has it really evolved, and like how?
um, everything is subject to change, we know that.
Hmm.
More than evolved, I think today we are able to say with a lot of conviction that this is what it is, and there have been so many great people who have done a lot of research to give us what they've given us. I think the golden era of Carnatic music, not I think, I know for a fact, is because of the trinity of Carnatic music, who's Swami Dikshita, Shyama Shastri, and Tyagaraja Swami. I think Carnatic music was um, more of a, I think, personal. If you ask me, it is my understanding that it was a very personal experience for all of these greats, because they did not visualize to become war, like, oh, people have to talk about me, or I should become this huge
Oh,
icon of Carnatic music. They never thought about these things.
yeah.
It was a very personal experience for each of them, I'm sure.
Hmm.
And that's how it was before. And then after a point, it got into the performance sector when the kings started ruling us. There were court musicians who performed
Yeah.
for entertainment purposes. So from a very personal bhakti kind of a experience, it moved into something else at that
Mm-hmm.
point. And today, when you look at it, it's come as a study also, because people are studying music to
Mm-hmm.
understand how it has, come through all those stages to be where it is today.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, I think it's had a wonderful journey from a very individualistic point of expression to what it is today. And today's performing, even performance for that matter, has changed, because it used to be all the concerts used to be for almost 4.5, 5 hours. It was not bound by time.
Yeah.
We have kind of capsulized what happens on stage. There are 1.5 hour performances, there are 1 hour performances. Some of them maximum go up to 2.5.
Yeah.
Very rarely it goes to 3 hours like how it used to be like 60, 70 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, I think every field goes through a change, and I think it's perfect where it is today. But I hope it doesn't stick to the whole digital platform for a long time, because we all kind of, we already have the itch of not performing for almost a year now.
I know.
But I think technology does help, but some of the charm that the live performances have, you can never replace it with what.
No, definitely not some. I feel like all of the charm of a live performance. It's just so hard. Like I watched a stand-up show recently, and it's not the same. I feel bad for the performer too, because like, they're having to look at a screen, they're not getting the emotions live, although it's
What
just
I think what was very revealing to me was I consciously decided not to be a part of the Margari virtual this thing because of other reasons. My father, my grandparents, all of them are in Chennai. We all live together,
Mhm.
and we didn't want to have any kind of accidental spread or whatever it is. That was one of the reasons. The other was I wasn't sure how I had to be motivated to be able to get the aura of performing with the live audience, right? Because
Yeah.
it's very different.
Yeah.
Like some things that happen on stage when you have an exchange with your accompanying artists,
Hmm.
and when there is a cheer in the audience, and sometimes there is, you know, I think there is a whole bunch of stuff that you don't get to do in front of a camera. And I personally couldn't motivate myself to do it. That was one of the main reasons why I chose to take a break this year. Hopefully next year it comes back.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for. I've seen very few concerts. Like I lived in Chennai for a bit, but that time my senses were not this motivated to go and check out all these things. But I did go to one concert and just one or two concerts during the Margli season. It was just amazing. Like that aura, that energy of a live performance. I mean, I'm all for digitizing and like all of this, but I think performances not being live, it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I mean, coming to this topic, it's COVID. Like, we can't not talk about COVID. Like, how has that whole experience been? Tell us about, how you've been dealing with this now. Since you've taken a break completely, you're not doing any projects, nothing.
We've been working on other things, like so many things that we have uh, accomplished, which we thought we had to do it a long time ago, because Ajay and I, both of us, had all the time in the world to mark off all those things and get it done.
Yeah.
I, one of the major things was my website, which needed a complete revamp, and it was so dormant, and I had not had the time to go and look at it. And Raja completely changed the whole approach to that. I think it looks fantastic.
It looks great.
Oh, thank you. She was who did everything of how it looks. Because the
Right.
pictures were taken by Amar Ramesh. I have to give him due credit for that. And that was one of the important projects that we embarked upon this time.
Mhm.
Secondly, some of the concert recordings that I had, which we thought we wanted to, make it into an album and release it in the global platforms, and which we did for the two, and we have two more coming up.
Very nice.
Is something that we are looking forward to.
Hmm.
We decided to invest on some good technology in terms of getting a good quality camera and a good quality mic, so that we can try to explore the sound that we have to be working from home. All of
Yeah.
us are doing it in their own ways.
Yeah.
In that respect, when I think about it, some musicians are really fantastic, because I did see some concerts online.
Hmm.
Would never be able to motivate myself to completely sing like the audience is actually there. They are doing a fantastic job in doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a completely other thing. But yeah, these are the kind of small projects that we have taken upon, and we are trying to do that. So till live performances are completely back, we will be in this quest.
Nice. It seems like you and your wife do a lot of work together. Is she a musician as well?
No, she's not. She is actually a master's in fashion management
Very
graduate.
cool. Hmm.
Uh, she she's actually a lot of things. I can't even put my finger on a few things and say, oh, this is what defines her, because she does everything really well. She is a great artist. She draws, she paints,
Nice.
is fantastic behind the cameras. You would have seen Antahadaya. And
Yeah. That was
she
really good.
and she also completely manages my artistic side, because she takes care of my social media, my website, and all of that. And she's great with technology, because I wouldn't have been able to pull this off without her. I would have probably held my phone in my hand. This is all the setup that she's done.
This
So
is fantastic.
a lot of things actually, and I'm truly blessed to be with her. I think I
Oh,
will be extremely lucky.
that's so sweet. That's so nice to have a very supportive partner. It makes a ton of difference, a whole world of difference. Very cool. Um, so like, you've also been teaching for a while, right? You been doing that for a long time?
Yeah, I've been teaching for almost 10 years now.
Nice. How has that been for you? Like, I mean, now I'm assuming, are you doing virtual teaching right now?
And
Is that going good? How
yeah,
are you
it
finding
is.
that experience?
It's always been a part of my life. I've
Hmm.
been teaching for almost 10 years.
Hmm.
I think I started teaching because my gurus urged me to teach, because he said you would learn a ton of new things while teaching, because you would never have gone through that process of simplifying something to that level. I think that's really really true, and that's what urged me to teach. And I have a bunch of students who learn from me, from India and also from the US.
Nice.
And that's been happening ever since the pandemic in full swing, because I have a little more time to spend on my students. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I was just running off to some place, performing here and there and all of that. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, I almost lost track of time because usually I ask people to sing at least somewhere halfway through. We're almost like we're at 45 minutes into this interview, and I still haven't made you sing. People are going to be shouting at me. So before we proceed further, can you please sing something for us?
uh, Sure. What would you like me to sing?
Anything, whatever you've been recently kind of humming a lot, something that's on your mind a lot, anything, whatever you feel like singing.
Okay. I think because of Pongal, I decided to sing a little bit of Surya Murte, which is one of the beautiful compositions of Muthuswami Dikshit. So I'll just sing a few lines of that.
Sure.
Mm, And wishing everybody a very happy Pongal. Today
Yeah.
happens that. So you all
Yes.
have all kinds of
Good.
delicacy at home today.
Nice. Nice. Very nice.
Mm, Suryamurte Namostute Sundare Chayadipate Suryamurte Namostute Sundare Chayadipate Suryamurte Namostute Sundare Chayadipate.
Very nice and very apt for today. Thank you so much for singing that for us. Um, like, I mean, we still have some time, but I have some question. One thing that popped into my mind, like, what are your thoughts on Carnatic music singers kind of going into movies? And is that something that you would aspire to do someday, to sing in a movie? Is that like the ultimate goal some people are learning Carnatic music today for, or do we want to keep Carnatic music pure? This is a very naive question. I have no idea, so I'm asking you.
Parts to this question. One is what I think about Carnatic musicians singing in movies. I think it's absolutely fantastic because they're able to have that divide, and it's a completely different mindset that you need to have.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, you would require a lot of restraint to not Carnaticize what you sing in a movie song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having said that, people who do that, I think it's hats off to them. The second part of the question, if I aspire to do that, I'm not sure because I've not consciously approached anybody to try that. But if it happens, it happens. I won't be completely averse to doing that. I think everything is music, and having the ability to switch over to some other genre of music, I think is something that I think it's a great skill, and it helps you appreciate other forms of music. And my gurus have always urged me to listen to all kinds of music.
Mhm.
They've never said like, "Oh, you should not listen to Western music," or you should. Of course, if you know Ravikiran sir, I think he does a lot of collaborations with all Grammy Award artists and so many. And he has this beautiful organization called Mel Harmony Foundation, which does a lot of collaborative music to see the likes and the the differences that are there in the two different forms of music and how they appreciate each other. So I think being a musician, you have to be a little inclusive.
Mhm.
So I think it's very important for us to grow. And there is always something that you can always learn from other forms of music.
Yeah.
And to the third part of the question, I'm sorry, there were three parts. Um, Learning Carnatic music is kind of like the base for any form of music that is out there,
Mhm.
or be it any form of classical music, be it Hindustani or Carnatic music. If somebody learns that and then they do whatever they do in the film genre, I think it gives them solid base to work upon.
Mhm.
The people, it's proved time and again that people who are classically trained usually fare slightly better than people who are not. There
Yeah.
are a few exceptions to that also, like the great SPB sir. I don't think he has said himself in so many interviews that he's not classically trained, but he's still able to create that magic. There are exceptions, but learning something like a solid foundation of any form of classical music will definitely help you appreciate other genres of music much better, is what I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, I think. For sure, for sure. In terms of like platforms like CarnaticON, where we're trying to basically bridge the gap and make Carnatic music more accessible to like the general public, like what are your thoughts on these kind of platforms? Like bringing music to everybody, basically.
I think it plays a fantastic role in spreading the word across because, like I said, Carnatic music has become extremely technology friendly in the recent years.
Yeah.
So I think all of us need to sail along with that change, and organizations like CarnaticON and others, they really help spread the word across for people who have no idea of what our music is all about. It is because it's mostly for the niche audience. Usually, when you look at it, when somebody listens to Carnatic music, it doesn't always appeal to them immediately. For some people, that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
some it takes time. So for some, it needs to be repeatedly. They have to be exposed to that for them to be able to see what it is. So
Mhm.
it's not very glamorous or very humming friendly like all the other film songs or whatever. So I
Yeah.
think organizations like yours really put the word out there for people who have no idea about what this is. And it gives a lot of exposure to new um, students who might think about, having this as a passion or a hobby or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be always a livelihood like most of us. It can
Yeah.
also be something that is close to your heart, which you do for yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, totally. Because like I do this on the side, right? Like I'm a student at CarnaticON. That's how like Archana and I met, and I'm also like learning a little
really,
bit.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, I'm a student. I learned from Deepika ji on Karnataka. She's sung in Bahubali. She's an amazing singer. So like
Yeah, well, that's nice.
yeah, so I've had the privilege of learning from her. I've taken a little break now, but like basically that's how we met. And for me to just restart this as a hobby, just for myself, I've always wanted to sing, but never really got into it. So it's been great. So these kind of platforms, I think, open up the channel for people like me who are like not anywhere near the professional scene, but to kind of just do something for ourselves on the side, and also for to get access to artists like you guys are sitting in Chennai, and for us all the way here, it just makes so much, it makes a world of difference for us to be able to access artists of these calibers. So it's great. But yeah, awesome, this was fantastic. I had such a great time talking to you, Girija. This was awesome. I'm hoping that we can reel you in and we'll do more stuff with you, collaborate with you. CarnaticON is very glad. I think we're super excited to have you to have your acquaintance, and we hope that this can become like a long-term kind of partnership, and we'll work together. So thank you
So,
so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
thank you, Yamini. I really enjoyed having this talk with you today. It's been a while, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you for once again for your time, and for everyone watching. You should go check out. I think your website is www.girijashankar.com, right? Yeah, you guys should go check it out. There's a ton of good stuff in there. And we'll see you again next week with yet another amazing artist like Girija himself. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for Happy Hour. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye, Girija. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.